So we got a story out of or off Fox News. This was sent to us by Lee. Hey Lee, I want to thank you for bringing it to our attention. Squatter laws in California allow for potential tenancy rights after 30 days in a property. Now that's misleading uh, to a point because we're talking about adverse possession, which is something near and dear to my heart. I deal with probates, decedents, abandoned properties. Uh, I'm working on an estate right now that has uh, multiple properties, multiple states. The decedent didn't have a will, uh, was found in the house dead on a wellness check, and now we have in one of the properties a will has showed up fraudulently, and we have to get involved with attorneys, and it's just a big mess. But it's what I specialize in as a real estate professional, and so I am familiar with adverse possession. I want to steal a house too, but I want to do it legally. And to do that legally, you have to follow the law. So when somebody says, "Oh, it takes 30 days," blah blah blah, yeah, that's not what's going on. Adverse possession could be claimed in California after 5 years if various conditions are met. Now, what are the conditions for adverse possession? You got to pay the property taxes for 5 years, and that's not paying the property taxes all at once in one 5 year period. In 1 year period. Like a lot of the properties I deal with, the taxes haven't been paid, so they'll get a notice, power to sell, something like that. But if I just went in there and paid off 5 years worth of taxes, that wouldn't be considered um, part of adverse possession. A judge would not say, okay, you've satisfied this requirement. Another requirement is that it has to be open and adverse, or not adverse, but open and notorious. People have to know that you or somebody is in the house. For example, I could occupy the house with my family, move in there, introduce myself to neighbors, get color of title, right? When they say who owns the house, well, it's Mike over there, and nobody knows, nobody checks. The neighbors don't check the public records to see who owns what. And what are you going to do? Call somebody up and say, hey, Mike here is taking over a house, but I know that the owners are dead and that the decedents have passed away as well, or not the decedents, but the heirs and beneficiaries have passed away. And so these people that I think that we're talking about in squatters, they don't know anything. They don't know. Maybe they know a couple things. Let's put it that way. In my case, I have a squatter, and they know that the landlord passed away, and they don't have to pay rent anymore. And now they're trying to claim that they own the property. They paid the taxes. And they think that they're going to get the house because they paid the taxes. The other requirement is, and going back to that open and notorious, you don't have to be the person living in it. You can rent that out. So in some cases, these houses are so banged up and so beat up and so just in bad shape. In some cases, not. But you can put somebody in there and say, "Hey, I'll give you rent, free rent. I'll let you live there rent free, but you got to fix it up. You got to take care of this place." You also want to get electricity bills, garbage bills, water, plumbing, things, sewer. You want to get things that are going to show that you can show proof of ownership, for lack of a better word, that you are, following the law and taking over and improving the property, instead of just letting it go to squatters who are going to light, fires in there. And it happens to us all the time over here in the Bay Area. Somebody moves in and they have a little propane tank fire warmer to keep warm, and the house lights on fire. So anyhow, this story is on Fox News, about a mansion in Hollywood by the son of a Philadelphia Phillies owner, John Middleton. He says, "I would like to apologize to the people of Los Angeles and especially to my neighbors. What's happened to these two properties I own is unacceptable, and no matter what caused it, I own the houses." So here's an example of somebody that just wasn't at home, and there's a lot of people that own second homes, third homes, and a squatter moves in, and rather than make the property, you know, beautiful and lived in and show that there's pride of ownership, they burn the place down. They just treat it like it's a dump. They don't care. Um, what's happened to my property is criminal, and I hope everyone caught will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. So he did not give them permission. These squatters did not follow the law when it came to this. In March, Fox News Digital reported a $5 million Beverly Hills home that was invaded by squatters. The real estate agent of the home called the police, but was told it was a civil matter. And that's another problem. And you're going to, as you know, that there's squatter hunters and these guys that are going around. It's a whole new thing that has showed up. And so, again, it goes on to say these squatters are clever. They will come up with fake lease documents or a fake story about how someone let them in. I have an investor friend that ran into this in Oakland of a 6-unit rental property where the owner, the tenant was charged. One of the tenants was charging the other people rent, and she produced a lease. She produced documents. They were all fake. The police did not want to get involved, and it took an extra 6 months, and I think that he bought her out for like $5,000 or $6,000 just to get out of there. And sometimes that's what you got to do, to just get these people to move on and get your property back and get it up and running. Once a landlord provides a squatter with a written notice to vacate the property and they don't leave, an unlawful detainer lawsuit has to be filed with the court. So then they get evicted. And again, there's a process to that, and it takes time. And sometimes these landlords, and especially if you're an out-of-state landlord, if you live in Texas and you have property here in the Bay Area, what are you going to do? Now you're going to wrap it up in legal stuff. Adverse possession, which has become known to as squatters' rights, is not unique to the state of California, but each state does have a different period of time and other requirements regarding when it could be claimed. Adverse possession doesn't always relate to a squatter. It could be also claimed unintentionally, as such as in the case where a homeowner puts up a fence by marking the boundaries, but accidentally dips into their neighbor's land. The homeowner who constructed the fence could claim adverse possession of the land they built on. Now, that's a different story. That's something else. That's, entirely different thing. But the general requirements of are typical for each state, including possession of being open and notorious, specific to how long someone such as a squatter must be in possession of the land vary. And in California, 5 years of occupation and payment of taxes is required. But you also have to have color of title. What is color of title? My neighbor knows my name. My neighbor knows, they can sit back and say, oh yeah, Mike got that a number of years ago, and he's been there ever since. And there's no problems. I'm not burning the house down. I'm not raising hell and 7 or 8 cars in the driveway. I'm not doing any of that. I'm keeping it nice and clean. I'm keeping it, I don't want people to. I want people to like me. I don't want people to be like, hey man, that's not cool. Anyhow, crazy story. They want to change the law. They want to do, I don't know, something. The story mentions it, but doesn't go into it. But again, Lee, thank you for this story out of Fox News. Adverse possession, man. I'd say let's go steal a house, but it's not cool. All right. Have a good day.
Thank you for watching Real Estate Soup with Mike Osterman.